Hello everyone, I'm Rylan with Forestdale Farm, and we're excited today to talk a little bit about what we've got going on in our greenhouse here. So we've got funded a project through the USDA SARE grant, which is the Sustainable Agriculture and Research Education Grant. So we're looking at developing new space-efficient growing techniques with water conservation, native fish preservation, and increased crop yields, specifically for small farmers. So what we've got going on in here is we've got treatments that have fish in them, and we're actually using a native fish, round-tailed chub, which is a threatened fish in Arizona. And then we have other systems set up that don't have fish in them. So we're comparing kind of the difference in crop yields with those, and we're also comparing them to in-ground treatments that we use typical growing on our farm. The goals that we're looking at with this project is to really look at water conservation. So we've gotten, over the years, we've kind of developed really efficient ways to grow in-ground, but using in-ground growing, you do tend to use a lot of water. So by looking at the aquaponic side and the hydroponic side, we're kind of looking at a way to get away from as much water usage. So in a system like this is really water efficient because you have it's a closed loop system. So the water is all cycled throughout the system. So when we water, we're able to connect into the pump, water from above here. Any excess water goes back into the fish tanks where it's cycled through a filter, and then it kind of just keeps going in that way. So we're looking at growing 3 different kinds of crops for this experiment. We're doing salad mix, which you can see here, kale, and arugula. In each tank, since we have a good filtration system, we're able to have high densities, so we have about 600 round-tailed chub in each tank, and that's so we can be sure that we're getting a lot of fish waste and a lot of nutrients, so we can see a difference in crop yields. One thing we're looking to achieve with this project is looking at space efficiency. So how can we grow the most in a limited amount of space? Our farm is pretty small. We're under 2 acres compared to a lot of farms which are 5-10 acres. So we're really conscious about how we utilize every space of our growing area. So with the experiment, we designed it so we can stack and grow on multiple levels. We can also use the underneath the tables where we don't have a lot of sun for germinating plants to kind of build it up and utilize it more vertically as well as on the horizontal. With this experiment, we're kind of keeping track of how much seed we're using as well as our yields and our water usage. So as we harvest things, we're getting a weight on it before we sell it and market it, and then we're going to compare the yields of each crop, so kale, arugula, and salad. We're here at the Rocky Mountain Research Station, and we're meeting with David Ward to have a look at some of the native fishes of Arizona.
So today I'm going to introduce you to some of Arizona's native fish, and what we've done is we've sedated some of these fish. And the reason we put fish to sleep is they get really floppy when we pull them out of the water, and we end up dropping them and hurting them. So if we put them to sleep, then we don't injure the fish, and they can be out of the water a little longer while we look at them without causing any damage to the fish. So this is a juvenile round-tailed chub. It's a native fish, native to the Verde River in Arizona. And when it gets to be an adult, it'll be big, like these guys. And it gets a little more of that darker color and more of the mottling on it. So chubs are not doing very well in Arizona. Most of the water that we have in Arizona gets used for municipal purposes or for agriculture, and not a lot gets left in the rivers for fish. So the fish in Arizona are having a lot of trouble. So in Arizona, we're raising a lot of these fish at hatcheries and in other places like at Forestdale Farms for use in conservation, so that we can put them back out on the landscape and we can do research on them and figure out how to keep them safe and well. So after we put these fish to sleep, we move them over into this other bin, which we've got dissolved oxygen bubbling in, and that'll allow them to recover. So just in a few minutes they'll flip back over, and you'll be able to see that they're okay. One of the problems that we have in Arizona is all of the fish hatchery resources are being used to grow rainbow trout for anglers. So it's really important that we partner up with private landowners and farmers like Forestdale Farms to be able to grow these fish for research and conservation purposes. So in Arizona we have a lot of dams, especially on the Colorado River, and those dams affect the water temperature. So one of the research projects that we're doing here at our laboratory is evaluating the effects of colder water temperatures on the native fish. So by partnering with Forestdale Farms and having him rear specimens for us, then we have research specimens that we can use in these replicated laboratory setups to evaluate some of those questions related to temperature. Okay, so for this particular research project, we're going to give Forestdale Farms a bunch of juvenile round-tailed chub and have Forestdale Farms grow them out for us, and then at the end of the growing season they'll give them back to us for research purposes. But in order for us to know how much they grow, we're going to pit tag these fish. So Rylan and I are going to pit tag this fish and just kind of show you how it's done. Okay, so we get a length on it. So he is 164 millimeters. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this little pit tag in. So this is just a little glass capsule, and it has some wire windings in it. And then Rylan, if you'll scan that tag, push the button there. When we scan it, it beeps and it spits us out an alphanumeric number so that this fish has a unique number. So we're going to put this pit tag right under the pelvic girdle into the body cavity. And it's like giving a fish a unique name. So now when we catch that fish 6 months from now, when Rylan and Forestdale Farms experiment is over, we can know how much it grew, and that gives us good research information for how we can use this as a tool to grow fish for conservation purposes in Arizona.
We're a few weeks later into the experiment, and we can really start to see the growth differences in the plants. So here, for example, is lettuce. These were planted same exact time. This is watered with fish, this is watered without fish, so you can really tell the difference on that. And then we have kale here. Again, you can see the differences. The plants are a lot more stressed in these containers, and they look really happy and healthy in these ones. Arugula, again, you can see the differences in that. And then these three are smaller pots. We tried to look at the growth compared to large pots and small pots to see what was most efficient, and you can see again there's quite a bit of difference there.